Hey, what's up? Head the Pond Professor here. It is a good day. We finally have fabric. That means next step is going to be liner. So I'm finally happy, and the sun's out on top of that. So we've been struggling with nasty conditions. It's been brutally cold, it's been wet, it's been mucky, it's been muddy. Everything that's been thrown at us has just been brutal, but we persevered. Starting to make some really good progress out here. Finally, we are putting in our drainage system, which is another big milestone. We are making our way from one side of the pond out. This is our access point right here. So everything has to come in and out of this little opening. It has been mucky, slippery, sloppy. We've buried the machine multiple times, even though we keep putting down layers and layers of rock. And that's just because we're pulling out sediment and muck, and that stuff just kind of oozes in between. Tomorrow we have our big team coming out, and we are going to attempt to pull this liner. You can see we have 4-inch perforated drain tiles. This was the really bad section. Came in with our heavy duty geotextile fabric. This is what we call our rock pad. Really thick, durable material. I mean, this stuff can handle a huge beating. It allows water to permeate through slowly, but it still kind of comes through. Dumped gravel on top of it. The water slowly seeps out, and this actually keeps sinking, and now it's actually hit finally stable ground. We're going to be putting fabric down on all this today. We dug a trench out, we put some fabric down inside, we put our drain tile, and then we covered it up with more stone. So we have a big loop going around that side. We have a T right here. Another loop going around there. We got Austin and Nick down in the hole over here. They're getting everything ready. So we're gonna take this drain pipe, we're gonna lay it down inside of here. It's gonna connect up with this, and then we'll take all that stone and we'll push it over the top. Over the top of all this gravel, we're gonna do more of the fabric, more of the geotextile. But look at the flow coming out of here. It's just a non-stop flow of water. So all of this water is going to go all the way down to those pipes way at the other end to our sump area, and then we'll have a series of pumps inside of that, and then that will allow us to pump the water from under the liner on top of the liner to fill up the pond, keep it full, then it will overflow into the storm sewer. So literally we're just going to do a series of lines and T's and members going all the way across. There's Jeff giving the thumbs up. It's going to be a good day. All right, another big milestone. Finally, we have the entire drainage system in. Couple bad spots over on this corner. We got a lot more rock in there. What we're doing right now is we're just gonna fine tune some of this excavation. Jeff's working his way out. We're gonna start getting some fabric back over in this section and get ready for our liner tomorrow. So I am very happy. Some of these angles right here are a little bit steep, so we're gonna try to kind of grade them down a little bit. We did all of that side already, cleaning everything up. We're gonna pull out the rest of the drain tile. We're repositioning our pumps to continue draining water. Austin, Nick, and I will probably break away while Jeff is cleaning the bottom. We're gonna start doing some fabric over in this section and just start working our way across this pond. Good feeling when we get the fabric starting to go down. So we're just going to continue smoothing this out. We got some rocks around the perimeter, so we're going to try to get this. Jeff is cleaning up all that stuff down over on that side, and we are making our way out. All right, time for the liner. We are going to be pushing the limit with the skid steer. Watch out, guys. As soon as he comes out, this whole thing might... Watch out for that edge. As soon as he comes down. Ah, yeah, he's got it. Liner going in, 220 feet long. It's gonna go from here all the way down that edge, and then we got to start pulling it across. Our challenge is we still have groundwater coming in. We're gonna leave pumps running in there as long as possible. We'll get it all the way down, and then we'll start unfolding it and pulling it this way. So this is a 36 mil reinforced polypropylene, about 5,500 pounds. Picture perfect right there. Thankfully, everything's coming together. Liner's going in. We got the entire team out here today. Team AQUASCAPE, definitely check them out. Everybody's out here. We're pulling this liner. Weighs about 5,000 pounds. It's over a half an acre in size. It's going slow because of the confines. Again, one more layer of complexity on this project. Because we're down in a pit, we have these big vertical block walls. You can only pull the liner up so high up to your chest, and you just can't lift it anymore. So we're tying straps onto it. We're pulling from above. We unrolled the liner down the one side, and then we start pulling across. We're tying straps onto anchor points along this entire side over here so we don't pull everything to the opposite side. The bigger problem that we have here, we have these 6-foot walls all the way around. We're working in a pit, so they're down to the last little bit, hopefully here.
1, 2.
So close. Roadwork has begun. Liner's in. All the folds are pulled out pretty much. A little bit in there, but that's because we got water coming up under the bottom. So I wanted to leave a little slack in there because I know once we pressure on top, it's gonna pull some of those folds down. So I wanna compensate for that. We're getting heavy duty fabric going on top of the liner now. So we got multiple layers of fabric under the liner. We're doing heavy duty fabric on top, and then we're coming in with our CA1 3-inch crushed rock to create a roadway to bring in all the material to the bottom. Here's our fabric coming in, and we're gonna come right up into this whole section, kind of bridge across, and we're just gonna start loading up crushed stone in this entire area. Minimum 8 inches up to 12 inches thick of this crushed stone. But when you look at this machine coming in, it doesn't even budge it, which is the key. So we want to make sure that this is pretty much a bomb-proof installation. We don't want problems. We want to spread the weight out of that machine over a big area. We got multiple layers of that fabric in there, so we're creating a good road base and it won't cause any problems. I'm going to show you a little trick that I use just to kind of lock everything in place. We use a heat gun. We actually weld the heavy fabric together. You can see it's like tack welding. The big concern that we have is you have a polypropylene liner underneath all this stuff. If you have it too hot, too close, you'll burn a hole through everything. And if that happens, you have a mess. So I'm going to show you that technique. So I got my heat gun going right now. I pull this back. I'm going to heat up. You can see how it's changing colors and starts to make it eats through it. I'm kind of melting that side, and then I melt this side as well at the same time, going back and forth, and then you just tap it down, and then you got a nice bond right there. So it's actually very simple, but if it goes too fast, you will burn a hole through it. So it goes pretty quickly. I go every few feet and just kind of tap it down, and that's it. It's going to keep the wind from getting underneath, blowing it around, but it's also keeping all the rocks and stuff, because when you have an overlap, I mean, this overlap is only 8 to 12 inches. This is really important because on a project like this, we're using a lot of little material. I don't want all that small stone getting in between the layers of fabric, because if that happens, it defeats the entire purpose. We want a protective barrier across the entire bottom. All right, our roadway is doing real well. The more level we can keep it, the smoother he operates. We don't lose as much material, and we're trying to keep everything consolidated right here. We are transferring over to a gravelly, sandy, clay, sloppy mixture of stuff. Not an ideal situation, but remember, this is a retention pond. This is not a traditional ecosystem. We're trying to set it up somewhat ecosystem-ish, but it's still gonna be kind of a hybrid type thing. It's meant for stormwater. We are not covering 100% of the entire bottom. We're gonna come across that top and get some of the cobblestone on that top edge. Kind of see a little wave popping out in front. That's because we're dumping this on top of water still. Water underneath all of this, not much. It's getting better and better. So the drain tile, because we have very little pitch, actually it's pretty much flat, going all the way over to our sump pits. So having a little bit of weight on top is forcing the water into the drain tile, and that's pushing it over to our pumps. So it's actually slowly dewatering everything, so it's working as planned, which is always good. All right, this is finally the moment I've been waiting for. We've been able to keep this thing drained out. We got our fill material down in the bottom. We're getting cobblestones around the perimeter. Weather is, again, turning on us. It was really warm today. We got rain that's hitting us now, and we're kind of doing our cuts around some of the pipes. And our roadway has been kind of deconstructed. We got this mixture, sand, gravel, cobblestone going in on the bottom. We just made our cut over here for one of our sewer pipes, and we are about ready to pull this. Sewer plug was put in because we have water on the outside of that. We've had multiple rains. This has saved us. So we still have to get a watertight seal around this, but actually this one is above water level. Wow, there might not be any water coming out. That was anticlimactic. Yep, nothing. So I guess that is a good thing. Deconstruction process continues. We have ice. This is frozen up. We've had well below freezing temperatures here the past couple days. We had to build this temporary road on top of the liner. Now we have to pull it out because that is above water level. We want that below water level. This corner could be shallow, so what we need to do is scrape all that gravel out. We're going to reuse that stone. We have to peel the entire liner back because underneath the gravel we have our liner, but we also have a bunch of soil. That soil has to be brought down to get to the appropriate elevation as well. A couple good things. Check to see if we have any bubbles under the liner. I don't think we do. We should be in pretty good shape, and that's because our drainage system seems to be working perfectly. I actually shut the pumps off last night, and the water level under the liner has actually stabilized. We've reached kind of a state of homeostasis. We do have a lot of cleanup, obviously. A lot of that stonework is already done, so we just have to trim up liner along that edge. We're going to go around with our laser transit, and I could tell exactly where the water level is at. We're going to bring our liner 6 to 8 inches above the water level. I don't think we're going to get this done this winter. We're going to probably have to finish things in spring. So I want to make sure that everything that needs to function will be functioning and it won't cause any problems. We have removed the entire roadway. The liner was peeled back. All that material was dug back out, retaining wall blocks back into position, and now my next step here is I have to make a watertight connection to this overflow right here. We have to seal the polypropylene liner to concrete. I have some of these aluminum strips. I'm going to form them to fit inside of this. So what I need to do is clean all the dirt off of this. I'll also be using a waterproofing sealer that's going to go directly on the concrete, and it will be in between the liner. Eventually this entire pond could fill all the way up to this and then go all the way out to the road. We're not bringing our rubber liner up that high. If this was built from the very beginning, I would have put the liner behind the block wall. So I got my little propane torch here. I'm just trying to dry all of this up just to make this connection a little bit better. Now the sealant that I have is designed for roof flashings. It actually can be installed in a wet type of a situation. So that's actually why I chose it. I cut the pieces. Everything's gonna fit. I gave it a little bit of extra room. You can see there's a little bit of gap over in these corners, and that's because I have to get the liner inside of there. All right, I've trimmed up my liner, got my pieces, they're cut, they're drilled out. I made the holes a little bigger than I needed. That gives me a little flexibility just to kind of shift stuff around. All right, put my sealant down. Now I'm gonna compress everything. I'm only doing the bottom, and then I will come up the sides once I get this anchored and I know it's not gonna move. So there's the completed installation. So remember, the most important part of all this stuff is preparation. I know you see a lot of dirt and junk over here, but this area here where that seal is at, I cleaned that off really well. Another thing that I want to point out is I used this heavy duty fabric on top of the liner, which is a pretty common practice, because what that does is it gets a good compression, because that stuff's a really strong geotechnical material. So when you put that under compression, it's going to help kind of pick up some of those imperfections that are actually down in the concrete, and it's going to allow everything to mold to it. The other thing that it will do is it's going to give a little bit more structural tensile strength. So this material is really, really tough and durable. So once I have that all bolted down in place, it's going to help to hold that liner really nice and rigid and hold it in place for the long term, and that's what it's really all about. I'm going to try to clean up some of this gravel down in the bottom, and I do have one more large connection to make over on that other side. All right, here's the other pipe. Peeled away the liner, fabric, everything to get to it. This is above our water level. So what I really need to do, I guess, at this time, I'm just gonna clean this up right over in here, and I will be able to bolt directly into that concrete. But everything is cleaned, dried, blowtorch. I opened this up just so I could kind of line everything up. I actually like a little bit of slack down on the bottom, and that's just in case any bubbles get under, anything happens, it allows this to fluctuate a little bit. You don't want it to be really, really tight in there. You should always have a little bit of slack. And that's the beauty of working with a flexible membrane like this, especially on a big system like this. We're gonna have all types of ice. I mean, just imagine the pressure pushing is gonna be driving everything towards those walls, let alone all the hydrostatic pressure from underneath. So right now, I'm going to put my sealant in between, and then I'm going to take my strips that I cut, and I'm going to start bolting those. So the nice thing about using the aluminum, it really conforms to the irregularities, which is key, especially with stuff like this. This was all mortared, there was rocks and stuff inside of here. When I marked those holes, I put the holes in the valleys. I put more sealant in between all of that stuff, kind of fix up some of the liner around this, and we should be in pretty good shape. So it is -3 degrees in Chicago, and thankfully I have a lot of work all over the world that I can take care of. But I am down here in beautiful Punta Gorda, Florida, working on a project at a place called Iguana Land. Stay tuned for that upcoming video because it is a really, really cool project we're working on with our CACs down here. The Bloomingdale project, the main thing that I wanted to take care of before the winter really set in, we had to have those connections done, otherwise it would have caused problems for us in the long run. So we were able to achieve that. Now we just have to wait until the weather kind of cooperates with us like this, and then we'll be able to wrap that project up. So I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for the next project. We'll see you soon.